I'm not a stock trader at all. I don't. A trader is somebody who buys and sells things rapidly and is stupid enough to believe that there can be a significant price movement in a short period of time. And maybe I'll spend 2 minutes on that, and then I'll answer the rest of your question thoroughly. But so imagine, Leoto, when somebody say trader, I'm a trader. What that means is so I'm a day trader. So they're going to buy something at 10 in the morning, and
So
they're going to sell it at 11 in the morning, and they think that the value is significantly different in 1 hour. Well, a stock is not some magical piece of paper or some magical, digital something in the sky. A stock means that you own part of the company. You own part of a company. So if we're trading Walmart or Coca-Cola, Walmart's been around for over 60 years. So do you think the next hour is going to make a big difference in the
no,
value of the company for a 60-year company?
not at all.
Coca-Cola more than 100 years. So is like I buy Coca-Cola and 8 minutes later I want to sell it. Is it worth a lot more money 8 minutes
No,
later? And that would be like if we relate that to martial arts, it'd be like you start training martial arts more than 40 years ago. Okay? All the easy things in martial arts and many of the very, 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 very hard ones, you already know that stuff. You know all the easy things, all the stuff that you would learn quickly. And then you know the hard things, and then you know the very hard things, and you know the minor little details that nobody knows. Okay? So how much could you learn about martial arts in like, 1 day or a couple hours?
nothing.
But that's
Yeah,
that's what a trader believes. A trader believes that the price is going to be different in 3 hours or 8 minutes. And when I think of anything substantial, if we look around at any skill, or if we look at anything in nature, like I don't know if you've ever been to Northern California, they have these huge trees, Sequoia tree, big redwood trees. Sequoia is the biggest one. And like 400 feet tall, like 100, 125, 130 meters tall. And the base of them 11 meters. So it's, as I say, 35 and a half feet, so 36 feet. So some of them are over 3,000 years old. Okay, so that's how long it takes to grow a tree that's 11 meters, 36 foot wide, and 400 foot tall. That takes 3,000 years. So now some guy's a trader. He's trading Sequoia trees. How much can the tree grow tonight, this afternoon? How much is the tree going to grow in the next 3 hours while we're trading it?
nothing.
Do you see how stupid that is? So when you hear somebody say, I'm a trader, I literally in my head, I translate, when I hear those words, is oh, dumbass. He meant to say, I'm a dumbass. Is literally the words I think in my head. It's the translation that I make. I'm a day trader. So, oh, you're a dumbass. I got it. Thanks for letting me know. This is good to know. Good to know. Um, so I know you said that word loosely, so I don't mean to attack you in any way, okay? But I just want to make that point to the others here. The idea that you're going to buy something today and is magically worth so much more money, later today or tomorrow or next week is like, well, what happened, What happened with the company that something has to happen for that to be true? And anything substantial in the world, if you have a 3,000-year-old tree, it doesn't matter if it rained overnight or not. It's only going to grow so much by tomorrow. It doesn't matter if we put some fertilizer. It's only going to grow so much by tomorrow. This is life, If we make a skyscraper, we're going to make a big, tall, beautiful skyscraper. Well, first we're going to dig in the ground we're going to spend 30%, 40% of the whole project is to dig in the ground and make sure there's amazing pilings and foundation. Going back to your options, I think about options 3 different ways, 3 different circumstances for options contracts. There's many more. There's many more. This is how I like to use options, okay? Number one way that I like to use options is I sell put contracts. I like to sell them with a short expiration. I sold some today. They're gonna expire on Friday. I like to sell contracts that are short term, usually expire this week, because I don't want my money tied up forever. I don't want to have to worry about I don't know what's going to happen. If you're selling a put contract, I'm collecting the put premium, but I'm basically providing an insurance policy. It's basically what a put contract is I'm providing an insurance policy that if the stock goes below that price, they pay me the premium right now. And if the stock goes below that price, they can sell it to me for the lower price. And I'm obligated, I have the responsibility to buy it. I don't have a choice, that's what the contract says. So if the stock is at $11 and I agree to insure the stock for $10, so $10 strike price on the put contract, then they pay me whatever. They pay me 25 cents to insure their stock that if it goes below $10 by Friday, they can put the stock to me and it's my problem, not theirs. If the stock goes up, then they made the wrong decision. If the stock goes up, I get to keep my put premium, no problem. If the stock stays at $11, I get to keep my put premium, they keep their stock. If it goes to $9.99, and there was a $10 strike price, I agreed that I will pay you $10. You give me 25 cents. If it's $10 or below, you can put it to me for the $10. If it's $9.99, it means I made 24 cents per share. So now I own the stock. I got paid a quarter. I lost a penny. I'm up 24 cents per share. I got $10.24, and I got to give them $10 of it. I get to keep the 24 cents a share. Now the stock is mine to decide what I want to do with. If it goes to $8, it means I lost $1.75. Because I guaranteed their price for $10, strike price $10. It was 11. I guaranteed if it goes below 10, you can sell it to me for 10. They paid me the premium. I accepted the premium. We entered the contract. If it goes to 8, I got my 25 cents, but now I got to pay $10 for an $8 stock. So I'm down $1.75 at that point, okay? So I like to sell those put contracts and collect those insurance premiums for a couple reasons. I'll do that with a stock that I'm already interested in. That was part of your question. So it's a stock that I'm considering purchasing anyway. I'm already interested in purchasing the stock. And now the price is lower. I'm like, well, at that price, I would be happy to have it. At that price, I'd be happy to have the stock, and I get to collect the put premium. So okay, I accept this contract. I'll keep the put premium now. If the stock gets put to me for $10, I would have been happy to buy it for, $10 minus my 25 cents, $9.75. I'd be happy to buy it for $9.75 anyway, so no problem. The other reason that psychologically, a reason that I like selling those puts, those insurance policies, is that there's a lot of people that have fear-based thinking, that they don't think rationally about the stock market. Richard Thaler was a professor at University of Chicago, where I went to graduate school. Richard Thaler talked about this, of like loss aversion, that it's much more painful for somebody to lose $1. The happiness they get when they make $1 is less than the dishappiness or unsatisfaction, the negative emotion they feel when they lose $1. So they should be neutral. If you make $1, lose $1, should be pretty neutral. But people feel like 4 times as bad if they lose $1. So let me say it differently. If they lose $1, it's like they have to make $4 back to feel equally good. So people are irrational about their emotions about loss. So it's called loss aversion. And when people are paying, sometimes people pay silly premiums because of that loss aversion, because of that fear. Sometimes people overpay for those put contracts. So I feel like when I'm selling those, especially at a time where there's a lot of volatility and there's a high premium, I think people are just scared and they're paying too much, and I should be a beneficiary of them being willing to pay too much because they're being irrational and they're being scared. So a good opportunity for me. So that's my favorite thing to do with options. My second favorite thing to do with options is, when the market's doing extremely well and I'm thinking about selling a stock, I'm like, I'm already, I'm thinking about selling it at the current price. Let me go sell the call, and I'll collect the premium from the call option. And then if it gets called away from me at that strike price, I'd be happy to sell. I'm already thinking about selling it if I can get a slightly higher strike price than the current stock price. Plus, I can collect the put premium. Amazing, amazing. I was already thinking about selling it. So, for instance, if we look at Simon Property Group right now, it's around $187, and I think, well, if I just as an example, I'm not doing this at the moment, but I still own a chunk of Simon Property Group, and I think, well, for those last years, I've been considering it. I've been thinking about it in my mind to be like, well, for those last shares, maybe I go sell some calls at $190 strike price. If it's currently 187, maybe I sell some calls around 190. I collect the put premium. If it went up to 190 and get called away from me, be all right. I was thinking about selling it for 187. I got 190 instead. Plus, I got to collect the call premium. So great, nice, perfect. The first two make sense so far? Okay, the third one, which is what you were touching on, the third one is making a trade, and I'm not generally a trader, but I'm making a bet that their next earnings report is either going to be particularly good or particularly bad, and that I think the stock is going to have a significant movement either up and down or down. Now, if I think the stock is going to go up, I'm going to buy calls. And if I think the stock's going to go up a lot, then I can make a lot of money if you buy the calls, near the current strike price. If your strike price is near the current stock price, and you buy the calls, well, now I have the right to buy it for that price. And if it goes up 20%, 30%, you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money that way. If you think they're going to have a bad earnings report and you think the company is going to do shit, well, then I want to be buying puts. I want the right to put the stock to somebody else. And if we just use the same numbers, so say Simon Property Group's about 187 right now, and I think, well, I think their earnings report's going to be shit. Let me buy some puts that I have the right to put it to them for, say, 185. And if it goes down to 160, just for an example, I have the right to put it to them for 185. If the stock went down to 160, I make $25 a share. So I had to pay for that put premium. I had to pay for the put because I bought the put instead of selling the put. Usually I'm selling puts, so I had to buy the puts. But if you bought the put for 20 cents, and then they had an unexpectedly bad earnings call, and now the stock's down $25. Well, I just got $25 for every 20 cents that I spent. That's 125x return. That's amazing. If you get 125x return a couple times in your life, you do whatever you want to with the rest of your life, So for instance, if you spent $100,000, in that circumstance, and you get 125 times return, is 12.5 million. So if you can turn 100,000 into 12.5 million, and you do that a few times, you start feeling pretty happy. If there's enough capacity that you could spend a couple $1 million, if you had a strong belief that the stock is going to go down or up, and then you did either one of those things, that you're buying the calls, buying the puts, or buying the calls, and you're correct that either went up a lot and your calls are much more valuable, or it went down a lot and your puts are much more valuable. So say you spend $1 million and you get 125 million back. So because 20 cents, with the example that 20 cents, if it moves $25 and you paid 20 cents per share, you get 125 to 1 ratio, 125x return. So your $1 million turns into 125 million. All right, so you don't. If you did that a couple times, pretty soon you have a lot of money.
You watch this video all the way through, and that tells me you're dedicated to learning more and earning far above average outcomes in your life. Congratulations for that. But now it's time to take action. If you could have earned those results by yourself, you would have done it already. My head coach has opened up a few spots on his high-demand calendar for an in-person, one-on-one strategy session to help you. On this call, we'll give you the pragmatic advice that you can implement tonight to get laser-focused on the right metrics and leave mediocrity far behind in your past. Click that link right now in the description below and apply for your call immediately. Do it now.